If you fancy yourself a true steam fanatic or aficionado or whatever you want to call yourself, then you need to see this locomotive. I'm sitting on the Tornado today here in England, and this has been something that I've wanted to see for a long time, and I have to tell you, I'm just absolutely amazed. This locomotive took a little more than 20 years total to build and complete, and was completed a number of years ago and has been running here in England ever since, and has just been doing a tremendous job. Like all locomotives, even locomotives from the days of steam, the teens and the 20s, the 30s and the 40s, it had a few of its own little teething problems. All of those have been sorted out. Even through the teething problems, the locomotive has done a great job performing. It runs at very high speeds. It's very reliable. It's just doing a great job. And what a great pleasure it is to sit here on the footplate, as they say here in England, or in the cab as we say in the States, to sit here on the footplate, to look at the engine. I've had an opportunity to speak with some of the mechanics today. Great people. We're going to do an interview with one of them here in just a few minutes for you. But I want to share with you for just a minute my personal opinion about new steam locomotives in the world. I really believe that this is the way of preservation for the future. What I mean by that is there's always the debate and the argument that goes with restoration and preservation. And the basic debate is usually formed something like this. We're either going to preserve the artifact for everybody to see, or we're going to consume the artifact as we operate it and preserve it. I really don't believe that preserving an artifact and leaving it for everybody to see is a true representation of real restoration or even real preservation. I believe that the art of preservation is taking even the semblance of what it was in the past, creating it in a way that can be used and functional for future generations not only to see, but to handle. And when I talk about handling something, I mean riding behind the locomotive, riding in the locomotive, being able to smell it, to see it, to feel it, to touch it. Those are the things that really create preservation, because when we talk to Grandma and Grandpa, when we talk to the older folks, what we get from them is the story of how it used to be, but rarely do we ever get to experience the whole package in all of its aspects. In other words, with all of our senses, to be able to smell it, see it, hear it, feel it. We get all of those things. As we move further and further away from the days of steam, the recreation of locomotives, just like the Tornado, is going to become and is quickly becoming the wave of the future. The young children that see this locomotive don't know that it's brand new. They see it as one of the old locomotives, just like the other 15 that are parked here today in Ropley, which is fine because it's an accurate and true semblance of what the actual locomotive was even back in the day. So I share that with all of you because, as many of you know, we do build new locomotive boilers. We have been building 15-inch gauge locomotives, and I do believe that in the States, just as it's been done here now in England, we will see in the near future in the States standard gauge live steam locomotives built to the designs, specifications, standards, the same look as what we had in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And those will become the way and the age of preservation. I believe that there are a lot of younger guys, either in my category or even younger, that can see that and sense that and know that that's going to become a reality. So we'll hope that you're going to enjoy these next couple of minutes of scenes that we've gathered up of the Tornado in operation. And then we're going to come back in just a minute and speak with John, one of the lead mechanics here on the locomotive. So enjoy these couple of scenes of the Tornado in action. I'm here with John. John is the Tornado's engineer, a locomotive engineer. Now that's different than what we refer to in the States as a locomotive engineer. John is actually the guy that takes care of the locomotive,
That's correct, yeah.
sees after it while it's out on the road, takes care of the volunteers, helps the driver and the firemen if they have any problems, and he also fires the locomotive quite a bit. But John and I have had some great discussions today, and we're just going to recap a couple of those discussions because they're great discussions for the entire industry as a whole. John, we were talking a few minutes ago about how we build these miniature locomotives in the States, and as we build a miniature locomotive, the first day is always its worst, and then it gets better progressively. And you were telling me that this locomotive has been the same, that from day one it was maybe that those were the harder days, but it's gotten better and better. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it has. I mean, predominantly, I think we've learnt more about the locomotive and its operation. It's a very simple locomotive to operate. Predominantly, it uses grease lubrication. We've got things like rocking grate, hopper ash pan. We've got sprinklers in the tender to keep the coal dust down. It's all about ease of operation, and pretty much, from an engineering role, it's a one-man operation, and we've got better at that, and we've made modifications to it along the line. We've put oil pots in different places, we've moved things around, we've made it easier for us to live with, and actually it lives with us better now. It's of all the locomotives I've worked with, which is quite a number now, predominantly East Coast Pacifics, it's very, very reliable. Now, I'm going to find a piece of wood and touch that in a minute, but it's because you can get to it, you can get under and over this engine. We've got things like, we've got lights between the frames, we've got lights up here under the running board. So if we're 3 o'clock in the morning in a depot, we're not fumbling around in the dark with torches and flare lamps, etc. We put the lights on and we can see what we're doing. You know, you can see what you've just banged your head on.
Yeah. You know, one of the other fascinating things that you mentioned was that you can really tell when you're operating a locomotive that it is a new locomotive. And I know that you're a consultant, you work with a lot of other locomotives all around England. Give us just a quick picture of the difference between this as a new locomotive and an older locomotive, just from the way it handles and feels.
It does feel like a new locomotive. I mean, it feels like a new car as opposed to a 25-year-old car. You're not worrying so much about component failure. Things still work loose, and I've always said the same about steam locomotives. It's never if it's going to let you down, it's when. It's 200-year-old technology, you know, the things haven't changed that much, and they do have intrinsic problems. This just has less, and we've had a chance to do more development, but we're not worrying so much about worn out components and things that are really at the end of the service life. You know, some of the older locos I've worked with, you're constantly chasing boiler issues because the plate work's had it, you're changing stays. You know, you've got to be extremely thorough with all locomotives, but this kind of the problems we get are restricted more to things we know about, and we're expecting that a general locomotive faults rather than just worrying the fact that it's an ancient construction, metal fatigue in the wheels, metal fatigue in the frames, rivets working loose, bolts working loose, that kind of thing.
John, one of the things that you mentioned, which I found very interesting, is we know from operating steam locomotives that we have problems with them all the time. They're going to break stay bolts, we just talked about white metal failures.
Yeah.
We're going to have those little things. You mentioned to me that this locomotive is no different. It still has those same little issues from time to time.
Yeah. You have the usual things that you expect. Predominantly, it's a heavy locomotive. It's a large locomotive, so we're always keeping an eye on springs, tightness of bolts, particularly, you know, controlling the springs. Brake gear tends to wear brake shoes out quite a lot. Again, operationally though, it's pretty straightforward. It's got a self-cleaning smoke box, so you've very unusual if you get more than a hatful of char out of there. So things like that make it a lot easier and give you more time to work on the other things. It's a big loco, and possibly on heritage railways don't always suit it. Tight radiuses, steep hills. You know, it's a bit of a greyhound as well. So when we're on this type of railway, we have to be very, very careful about components coming loose and damaged. But again, new springs, new hangers, new bolts, we're not getting a lot of failures in those directions, which are the usual consumables on any sort of steam locomotive.
Yeah. It's just fascinating to me that no matter what it is, new or old, it's going to have the same basic problems.
Absolutely. You know, we're seeing the same patterns that I had when I was with Flying Scotsman with other locomotives. You know, the same things you are always in your mind that you're going to have to check very, very regularly, more so than the less consumable components.
Yeah. John, we talked a minute about volunteers, and you mentioned to me that your group is kind of split age-wise, half and half.
Half and half, yeah. Half and half. We have a number of younger people, sort of under 40, late 20s, early 30s, and then we have a bit of an age gap, and we have quite a few early retired people who are in the late 50s. It's very physically demanding, particularly because the way we operate this locomotive, we do a lot of jobs that are over 400 miles. You know, you're off shed at 3 in the morning, you're not back until after midnight the next night. So it does, I wouldn't say it takes its toll on staff, but you've got to have a lot of stamina, And we are struggling at the moment to recruit younger volunteers, because I think a lot of them see the glamour in it, but then there's a lot of hard work and late hours, and there's a bit of a social life when you're with the support crew, but you know, if you're after having a full-on teenage social life, it's probably not the best career move.
But you know, as teenagers, we all wanted to stay out late at night, be up early. But
you can do that. Yeah. And we have both sexes as well. We have a number of lady volunteers that come out with us. So you know, we're very equal opportunities. If you're prepared to have a go, we're prepared to let you have a go. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So now, give us your shameless plug. Tell us how, if I were a young volunteer that wanted to get involved with the Tornado, how do I get involved?
Well, if you go onto Google, there you go, bit of an advert for them, and look up the A1 Steam Locomotive Trust. They've got a fabulous website. If you go on there, and there's a button you can click on that says how to get involved with Tornado, and there's all the contact details there for the different jobs. Because we have a range of people. We don't just have people who come and clean the locomotive and work on the locomotive. We have a sales team who work up and down the train, are very much our support crew because they support us financially. They go around, come to heritage railways and set up sales stalls, etc. You know, there's a lot of different jobs. There's a lot of behind the scenes office type things that doing. You know, there's a big organisation behind running a locomotive this size. Get on there, click on the button, get in touch with someone, and come and give us a hand. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Thanks, John. John, I've had a great time with you today, and I have to remind you though, before I let you go, I was supposed to drive the locomotive today, but because the line was down, I didn't get to. Right?
Well, you've got to come back and do that.
Okay,
you must come back and do that.
I'll come back and I'll drive and give everybody a nice footplate ride. Okay, that's wonderful. Thanks so much, John. Thank you very much.